Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast, a podcast where me and my brother Charlie and Dan talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL. And we are joined again, another special guest for the whole episode, Mr. Andrew Day. Nice to have you on, mate.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No worries. And we brought you on because it is the big semi-final week for the Romford Raiders who are playing the Milton Keynes Lightning, the reigning cup champions. And we were just talking before, there's not really much news again. We know Ripley might get a ban because Dops are going to look at his hit, which he did. We'll go into that a bit more when we talk about the games, but there's not really much news, not really much transfer news. So we thought we'd do the full preview for Wednesday, I believe. I know we're all going to be there. Romford have kindly got us tickets, so big up to Romford. And we're going to preview the game, and Andrew's going to give us some insight as well. Obviously, watching Romford pretty much all season. So yeah, I remember we got you on before the season, Andrew. Well, actually, Charlie, Dan, you were doing all right. Sorry, I forgot to ask
Yeah,
if
it's
you're all
fine,
right.
mate. It's fine. Yeah, we're doing all good.
Doing all right,
Yeah,
Charlie?
we're good. I'm not too bad. A bit ill. I got a bad throat.
Okay, well,
Uh,
it's good we got Andrew then, so
Stop
he can do a
complaining,
bit
mate.
more
Stop
talking.
talking now, then.
But Andrew, obviously we you come on for our predictions before the season, and it's fair to say Romford have been the surprise package this season.
Yeah, doing much better than I thought. I think most people thought because all the changes going on, especially behind the club and everything, late signings and so on, that they wouldn't be doing as well as they are. But especially the imports that have come in, Andrew Schufel and Phil Miller, they've been clicking really well and
Yeah,
stuff. And even Yokohama was brought in just recently. He's been picking up a few points as well and stuff. So they've been great sidings. Obviously, we've kept some key players and stuff. And even some of the other players like Aidan Wilson coming in, he's been
yeah,
decent as well. And yeah, well, just this weekend, Andrew Sheffield got the Player of the Month,
nice. Yeah.
and a lot of points, which we'll talk about later about the games and stuff. But yeah, so I
What
think
do you
yeah,
think has been what do you think has been the main reason this season? Because I personally, well, me and Charlie and Dan have said Shufat and Miller have just been game changers for Romford. I don't think they've had two imports who are at the level of those two. And me and Charlie were looking at it earlier as well. Charlie was telling me the best points per game players in the league, and it was literally Sobchak at the top, and then you've got Miller and Shufat in second and third.
Hanas,
Pardon?
Hanas, number one.
Oh, yeah, Caden Hannas was actually number one because
Yeah,
I think he
can't
got
forget about him.
3 points a game, and then they switched him. But Shufat and Miller technically second and third. Are they some of the best in? I know it's early days, but are they some of the best imports you've seen play for Romford and in the
uh,
National League as well?
definitely for Romford. Um, well, we've had national probably, yeah. I mean, I can remember people back in the EPL that were just
Oh yeah,
awesome and stuff. I know I mentioned who last time for you guys for one,
yeah,
but some of the MK lot, a lot of they had like Wicklander that came over and Smelter and stuff. Some of them were
yeah,
top class players, but national wise, those two have been doing it really well. I mean, they are obviously the big scoring line, but I'm not going to. Every part of that team's doing something. I mean, even
yeah.
take like low down the third line. Briggs has been playing really well lately. Like Tomalin, and that lot just all right. You're not going to get too much scoring from them, but they are like grinding out the teams and
Yeah, yeah.
putting hits in and everything and minding things down. So good team effort as well. But yeah, obviously they're the big scorers and are doing well. And Jake, obviously Jake Sylvester is
Yeah.
doing what
He's
he does
almost
every year, basically. So
I think what we notice is he's almost not being relied on as much for goals this season because last season I think he was probably the main scorer. Obviously, you had Milton, you had Connolly, but he was the guy you'd look to for Romford to get the goals. Whereas this season, he's not been the main guy to rely on because Schufelt's been taking that load, Miller's been taking that load, and then I wanted to ask Dan as well. Ethan James. It's I think he's been really good this season. And considering they lost a couple D men in the off season, he's really stepped up, hasn't he? And I think this is the best Ethan James we've seen for Romford this season.
Yeah, 100%. I think obviously we know how important goalies are, and I think bringing these import goalies in did really boost these Brit netminders.
Yeah.
And I think Ethan James is a guy that really believes in himself, and I think he's got a really good mentality for the game. And I think another thing that really pushed these Romford boys on is what happened in the off season. I
Mm.
think a lot of people doubting them really pushed them on, and I think Ethan James is one of them guys that he just sort of he's been brought into the Romford way, and he wants to prove to people that Romford aren't just going to back down. And I think the way that he's the goaltender, I think he's going to try and keep Romford in every single game he can, and he's really done that this year.
I think the thing which I love when Ethan come on, he knows that this is a big season for him. He literally said he come on to us and said he had the chat with Leish, and Leish was like, "You got to be the guy this season." And so far, he's really taken on that role, especially like with losing quite a few D men and it being question marks on the likes of Nixon and obviously giving Pascal a bigger role. But I think they've done really well as well. But Charlie, another thing which obviously Laysham's not even been playing the last few weeks, and Yokoyama's come in, and you said the first as soon as he signed for Romford, you said he is. If there was any team in the league you'd pick Yokoyama to thrive in, it would be Romford because he just plays that forecheck in that gritty game, doesn't he?
Yeah, I never actually too much minded Yokohama at Telford, and I think, don't get me wrong, the way I describe Yokohama is a glorified Brit. Is that the right way? Yeah, that's how I describe him. And it's not dissing Yokohama, but he's a Brit with something special.
Yeah.
And he's perfect if you've got two import forwards and you're able to afford having a third one instead of getting a D man, because he actually plays more of a nitty gritty side of the game, which is what you normally get from Brits and not imports. But I think he's so effective for Romford because they lost so much of that Brit core last year in their forward zone, especially having lost Connolly, Milton, and Norcliffe. Is there any more there, Andrew? I believe that was the three.
That was the
They're
three main
the
ones.
main forwards and stuff. Obviously, lost some defense
Yeah.
like Wells and stuff, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they lost three forwards who were kind of in their top seven forwards, you could say. And so I think adding him in, he almost helps fill that void a little bit. And of course, they'd love Leish, but I think he's been excellent. And one thing I've noticed with him as well is he's not doing any fights anymore. He's not messing about. He's got his head screwed on. He's not picking up silly penalty minutes like people may have questioned. He's just playing hockey. And he's scored some really important goals for them this year. And to be honest, it's a luxury that they can kind of have him because he's a great guy who's come in and fit in, and obviously plays on a line with the guy I'm supporting for the cup final is TJ Anderson, cup semi final. He plays on a line with him sometimes, and I think TJ's had a huge role this year. We said it in the preview. I think I put him as my ones to watch 2 years in a row, but the reason I put him because they lost three of their top six Brit forwards, and he had to step up, and I think he has done. And even more recently, we've seen him pick up a couple more goals as well. So I think it's a big cup final for Romford, and I think players like Yokohama, they're the game breakers in terms of we know Shufat and Miller are going to turn up. I'm pretty confident anyway. I'd be surprised if they didn't. They seem to be on the point sheet. I think Shufat's on a 9 point streak, so I hope I don't jinx him. But Yokohama, TJ Anderson, Jake Sylvester, they're the guys you want to turn up. Them players who can contribute extra, and if they do, Romford just don't stop scoring.
Yeah. Well, let's get on to it then. Just to correct you, Charlie, it's the semi-final, not quite the cup final yet. But it's the first leg of the semi-final, and hey, you've got to give your flowers to MK because they are the reigning champions of this cup. And Andrew, despite them having struggled in away games, you'd say the last few seasons, last year in the cup they kept it tight in the cup games. I remember against Swindon, it was 2-2 in the first leg. We scored a late goal to make it 3-2, but they kept it within that goal. And then in the final as well, they kept it. They actually had a goal ahead, so they kept it really tight in that. And they always know if they can go back to their home barn, they're probably going to have a chance. Well, they know they can win the game if they've kept it to a reasonable scoreline. So I think for them going into this game, yes, it would be great if they can win the game, but if they can just keep it tight, they know at home they're going to be absolutely rolling in that second leg.
No, I agree. I think it's the same for both teams, actually. I mean, Rockford have been doing really well at home as well, and
Yeah.
it's only been the odd slip up there, and it's been really close. I mean, we even ran Leeds United close at home
Yeah.
as well. It's only been the last few minutes that they lost it a bit there, but yeah, totally what you said. I mean, the semi-final, you guys got close to them. You nearly got them
Nearly.
there when you went back to lights, and Hull, I think messed it up at their place. They were leading one by a goal in the third in their first leg,
Yeah.
and then they lost a couple near the end of the third, which then they had to play behind by a goal,
Yeah.
and because of how good Lightning are, and well, they pretty well won all that year at home, except for that one game against Leeds right at the beginning. Oh, sorry, against Hull at the start of the season.
Yeah.
They were probably favourites, but yeah. So yeah, totally agree. It's going to
You'd
be
think, Dan, you'd think that it's tough for Romford because obviously they're going to back themselves away in Milton Keynes, and we've seen it in the playoffs actually last season that you can win in Milton Keynes, and there's been a couple teams which have run them close this season, obviously taking it to overtime. Peterborough beat them in overtime. I think Romford have just got to make sure they just focus on this game. Every coach says take it one game at a time. We were there a couple weeks ago, and sorry, it was probably over a month ago actually, when it was 6-5. And I think that is the type of game which probably Romford won, because that's when they play their best. When the crowd's on it, they can get a couple quick goals in succession and kind of get into Milton Keynes' heads a bit.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've got a semi-final here of two teams that are really good at home,
Yeah,
and I think Romford are going to be loving it that they've got the first leg at home. I think that's going to be really positive for them because I think going to MK in the first leg is tough.
yeah,
But it depends how you look at it, really, because if you can keep them in distance in MK, you would sort of feel a bit more confident bringing it back to Romford.
mm,
Um, it's hard. It's a different way to look at it, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, Romford, we know what they can do with momentum, and in a cup game, momentum can shift just like that. And I think if Romford do come out quick and they know what they need to do against MK, they've seemed to had MK's number in Romford for last season and this season, to be fair. So they're going to have that in the back of their mind. They're going to go into the game confident. They've obviously MK have just come off a tough loss yesterday.
yeah.
Obviously, they're going to be going into this game, and it can affect teams. It is a big mental game, and I think Romford just have, like you say, just have come into this game one step at a time to see what they can do, and just if they can get a few goals lead, if the momentum can push them to get a few goals in quick succession like they have done, then happy days for them. And I think that's what they're going to be thinking the whole game.
Yeah, well, looking at MK, Charlie, obviously it's a bit of a different team this season to last season. They've got that import D man in Spadafor. I think this is a huge game for him because obviously he's taken a few penalties in recent games and it's been in the away games actually. I think he's been really solid at home. I think it's in the away games where it can get quite tight and quite chippy. He's given away a couple penalties. I think he did on Sunday night, which we'll probably talk about. But I think this is a massive game for him to show, right, step up, this is my game. And then you've got the likes of Wallace and Lawrence as well, who maybe points wise would have hoped they would have got a bit more by this point. But hey, this is the cup games now and the big boys come out and we've seen Wallace in recent years. He has been huge for them in the cup games.
Well, yeah, I don't know if we were going to do ones to watches for the
I
cup.
was I was gonna have a player to your kind of
Yeah, but
player to watch this weekend,
mine's
but go
Jordan
on.
Spadafor.
Yeah. Oh, you've
It
spoiled
has to
it. There
be.
you go.
I'd say
Wow.
how it is. I wanted to take that one straight away because for me, he's such an important part of this MK team, but he's cost them in silly moments this year, and I don't think there's ways of saying it in other ways. He gives away stupid penalties, and you can't afford to do that in games like Romford away. He
Yeah.
gave away a 5 minute penalty when we went there last time, and got a game penalty for it. They did end up coming back, but I believe Romford won that game,
Yeah,
and that
Romford
was
did.
2 points in the league drop for them, and that was frustrating for MK. And I think Spadafor when he's on it, and I remember MK away, I believe Spadafor against Swindon
No,
was
it
phenomenal.
was when we sorry MK at home, but we were away to them.
Yeah, I'm saying MK away
Oh,
because
okay.
Swindon were away to them. Um, we we were really good that night, and Spadafor was MK's best player for me. He was phenomenal. He didn't give away a penalty minute. He timed his hits perfectly. He was disciplined. I think he drew a penalty. He winded people up. Yeah, he drew a penalty from Britnell. He winds players up. He's amazing when he's on it, but when it goes the other way around, he gives away three or four in a night. So I think it's a huge cup tie for him, and I think especially to put the whole fans in confidence in him. You always want to be backed by the fans as a player. And I think he's a bit divided at the moment. But if he had two good cup semi final legs and got them to another cup final, I don't think anyone would be moaning at him after that, especially if he throws around some big hits. And that's one thing I do think. I don't think Romford like getting hit much.
Mm.
And I think if Jordan Spadafor, I really think it is a huge series for him. I think he's got pressure on his shoulders, and I think Romford would target him, but if he plays well, it will mean nothing. So I think it's like that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Um,
Can,
and sorry, I'll come to you in a sec, Dan.
yeah, yeah,
Actually, go on. Is it about Spadafor?
yeah.
Yeah, go on, go on.
I was going to say, I think what you find is in the home games, obviously MK sort of do like lead the games. They sort of dominate the
Yeah,
games at home. And I think when they're away, I think that's where they start trailing in games. And I think that's why you sort of see silly penalties because the team in general just starts to sort of rush and get a
yeah,
bit
yeah,
sloppy. And when they're especially on the small ice pads, I think that's why you do see some of these silly penalties come along because they're not the team that's dominating the game.
yeah,
It's not so one way as it is in MK. Like in MK, it's sort of mainly going to be MK leading the play, but in the away games, it's sort of it can go either way. So I think yeah, you see those silly penalties come round more in the away games for that reason.
yeah. No, I agree. It's different ice rinks as well, different pressures. Um, Andrew, then, who is your kind of ones to watch for this tie? It could be from either team if you had to pick one.
Got me in a bit there.
We can come back to you. I've got mine if you want me to say mine.
um, yeah, you go ahead. Well,
Okay,
I've got a
so
couple in mind. Go ahead.
mine is Tom's Rutkiss. He was probably MK's biggest game player last season. In the playoffs, even though they didn't make it to cover, thought he stepped up, and then obviously, I think he got a hat trick in the final. In that second leg. And he's not struggled this season, but I think he would have liked more points maybe for himself. And these are the games which I think Tom's Rutkiss really thrives in. He loves the big games. And yeah, I'm going to go with Tom's Rutkiss, obviously former Swindon as well. So Tom's Rutkiss is my man for this cup tie. Dan, do you want to go and then we'll go to Andrew?
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the guy we spoke about at the start, Ethan James.
Oh, okay.
I think in a cup game like this, I think goalies are so important. We saw it in the Swindon tie against MK last season. Rennie had a really good game in MK and sort of gave Swindon that chance. I
Mm.
think if Romford want to go to MK with the lead or want to go into the game close, I think Ethan James is going to be a big factor of that, and I think he's going to give Romford that chance to stay in games and give him that offensive, obviously, opportunities to get the goal ahead as well.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Goalies are huge in these games to try and keep the score low. Go on, Andrew.
Okay. Well, I said I had a couple. Well, a couple for Raiders anyway. What he just said, Dan was one of them. Ethan James, he had a great game. The other one is Charlie will like this one. Probably TJ from what he was
Oh
saying.
yeah, look
saying.
at him nodding
That's
his
my
head.
boy, Andrew.
Yeah, if he's on his game, he can like take on anyone. Put the goals past anyone. Maybe on the MK side though. Someone like Jordan County, if he can set up
Yeah,
from his elite experience, some of his speed,
That's
coming
a
up
good
and
boy, actually.
everything, he could surprise someone.
someone who we haven't mentioned who's probably been the on form guy is Max Stewart, and he's been so impressive this season. But I think we've all chosen kind of our little underrated ones who we should look out for. I like that TJ one because he's going to be controlling that second line with Yoki Yama and Jake Sylvester. It's going to be a great battle. I think the last we got spoilt in the last game, 6-5. It was an absolute banger. So if you are watching, do go get your tickets, travel down, even if you're not a Romford fan. Honestly, it's going to be an absolute cracker. And if you can't get to the game, I would highly suggest getting the stream as well because it is going to be probably one of the games of the season. If it lives up to the expectations. I'm going to go to the tricky part now. Predictions. You don't have to do any score predictions. You could just say which team you think is going to win this semi-final tie. And Charlie, we're going to come to you first because
Oh,
you are the prediction man.
oh,
You
here we go.
you actually are
Yeah.
very good at predictions, whether people like it or not. You are. So, Charlie, what are you going with?
I think Romford will win the first leg. I think they'll win it. I think they'll win it 4-3. But I think MK will take it by a goal in their home rink. I think they'll beat Romford by 2 goals and go through. I don't like saying that. I want Romford to go through. I'm happy to admit that I want Romford to go through, but something tells me that Milton Keynes they got a bit more experience under their belt. They know what it's like to be in this situation. This Romford team's good, but I think Milton Keynes is a tough beast to break down. But if anyone's going to do it, I don't doubt TJ and the boys. But I think Milton Keynes will go through by a goal.
Ooh, Dan, your turn, mate.
Uh, I think MK are going to win the first leg. I think they're going to win it 5-4. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be a late goal from MK, I think, like they did in Hull. And then I think they're going to take it back home, and I think they're just going to run away with it.
Really? What, like the final last year?
Yeah, that's what I think it's going to go like that.
Okay, Andrew.
Sorry, Andrew.
I think it's going to be quite tight.
I hope it's tight, just purely
Yeah.
because it will be more entertaining. I hope it's close going into the second leg, so the second leg is still massively to play for.
I don't. Romford on their side never give up.
Yeah,
Even if they're
that's
like
true.
5 down, they'll still try and like
Yeah.
fight for it and everything. Um, I wouldn't be passed by what Charlie says really. I think you got right. Yeah, Raiders. You buy the old goal at home,
Yeah.
and then yeah, maybe it might even go to 80. Maybe.
I tell you what, this is another point. Cup games like this should not be going to penalty shootouts. So if this game, if this tie is decided on bloody penalties, I am not going to be happy. I'm going to go with Romford Raiders. I just think that line. I know MK have good players. That line of Shufelt, Miller, and whoever's centre in that line, whether they put TJ on it, whether they put Yokiyama, or whether they put Alif, who did really well against Milton Keynes last time. I think he scored twice. That line, if that can get rolling and they can score a couple, if MK get a few penalties in Romford, if they fall into the trap, I think Romford could get a couple goal lead in that first leg. But I think the first leg's huge. I think the first leg literally decides the second leg. Because I think if Romford are like 2 or 3 goals ahead, they'll go in with massive confidence into that second leg. So I'm going to go with Romford win. There we go. I'm going with Romford win. We hope you've enjoyed our preview, and as I said before, please do get your tickets, and your streaming tickets as well. It's set to be an absolutely brilliant tie. Let's talk about this weekend then. And we're starting with the Saturday, and I think it might be Swindon who's the first game of the weekend. Yes, it was. Sorry, it was Swindon versus Romford. Yes, so you were there, Andrew. I think. We were all there actually. It was Swindon's Rock the Rink night. And after the first period, I'll be honest, it wasn't. I wasn't feeling in that rock and roll mood. Let's just say that. The Romford Raiders 2-0 up after the first period. And Andrew, it was two very nice goals, actually. Well, the first one, Rennie will probably want back, but the second goal was a very, very nice goal. And that's just a bit of class from Sean Miller playing it over to Nixon, who's been on the score sheet a couple weeks in a row, I think.
Yeah. I mean, he scored. I think it was a Peterborough. I think, but
Peterborough away, very
yeah,
nice goal, yeah.
yeah, yes, I'm surprised. Yeah. If anyone had wanted to put bets on our three scorers out of Swindon, I mean, they'll be a millionaire. Yes, not every day that you will see, yeah, Nick's Nick's Prescott and
Jack
especially
Cooper.
Cooper. I mean, it's rare that Jack gets a goal. Um, I I wouldn't say it was the best of games, a bit scrappy and lots of broken passes and stuff like that, and so on. Yeah, good start from Montford. Um, yeah, and then penalty problems, really, I guess, a little
Yeah.
bit, and you got a good power play, took advantage of them,
That's
and
the one thing you cannot do against Swindon because we have been known for however long we've been watching hockey to have a good power play. And Dan, on where you guys think it was a 2-minute penalty, it got given as a 5 minute. I think probably because it was in the numbers and Luke Johnson was not against the boards. He was that little bit away to then get pushed face first into the boards. Um, but that 5 minute cost him because we got back into the game. And then in the third period as well, we got another power play opportunity and we scored on that. And I think, Dan, the main difference was if you look at all of our goals, they were all just in the slot, weren't they? With like none of them were pretty goals. None of them's making goal of the week. Like they were all just in the slot. Glenn Billing, Chris Jones getting in front of Ethan James and just getting it past him.
Well, this is the thing. James was in that game, and he was on the game where when he sees the pucks, he's going to save the puck.
Yeah.
Like he was playing one of them games, and I think Swindon saw that, and that's when they sort of knew they had to change it up a little bit. Swindon always fall into a trap of trying to score too pretty a goal. They try and pass it around a bit too long. They try and obviously feed that pass across to the guy in the slot. They feed it across for the cross crease, and they never really do the just take a shot and just see what happens, you know. And I think once they sort of started to suss it out a little bit, that's when the game started to turn.
Yeah.
You obviously had that 5 minute power play. They did the exact same against Peterborough when Lackinen got that 5 minute. They scored three goals on that, and the game just sort of turned from there. Obviously, there was a few less goals in the Romford game, but it was just one of them games where the momentum just shifted. And yeah, like I say, once they started to find out of just taking those pot shots and just getting them in the slot and just causing trouble for Ethan James, I think that's when obviously the game turned and it sort of looked sort of comfortable for Swindon from then on.
Yeah. Charlie, we always say the 2 goal lead is probably the worst lead in hockey. And come the third period, I think it was you, Charlie, who said this. We did a Romford to Romford. We scored 3 goals in literally 2 minutes. So we kind of had that 2 minute spell where we just put everything in front of the net and we grinded out the goals. And at 6-3, we just shut the game down, didn't we? And we're so good at doing that at home.
Yeah, Romford came out in that third period very flat. They weren't good, but to Swindon's credit, we took advantage. And yeah, we were good. We had a really good power play all weekend. Last year we proved how good our power play was, and this year we just continue to keep showing that. Um, and yeah, Romford be frustrated with themselves in that third period, but Swindon's a really tough rink to come to. Whether it's the first or the second, or this weekend the third, we seem to have one really strong period in
Yeah.
every single game. And this weekend it was the third, and yeah, we were really good. Rennie made a big save on Jake Sylvester.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at a moment's goalies get paid for. And as soon as Rennie made that save, I believe Chris Jones scored a goal at the other end of the
Straight at the
ice.
other end, yeah.
And that was just a momentum changer. I think we went 2 goals up instead of it being a tie game. So yeah, it's one of them things where your luck goes your way. on a breakaway. Your goalie plays well. Jake Sylvester didn't find the spot. And then I think it was literally 15 seconds later, one goes in their net, and you think, in that point, Romford are thinking in their head, all right, let's prepare for tomorrow. Let's reset. Let's make sure that we don't kill ourselves out. And to be honest, in the back of their head, I'm sure we got a cup semi-final on Wednesday, the biggest game in their probably NIHL. Actually, no, they had playoff final, but their biggest game under the new owners. So yeah, it was a weird game. Wasn't the best quality game.
Like Andrew said, it was
Swindon got the
quite
job.
yeah, it was short of quality, wasn't it, Andrew? And I think in the end, I think Swindon did deserve to win it across of that third period performance and just getting in front of Ethan James. The next game, probably I probably won't speak about it too much because Leeds just did what Leeds have done so many times the last 3 seasons. They beat the Tigers 5-1. They went 4-0 up. And then yeah, they just grinded the game out. It's actually been quite tight between Leeds and Telford this season. I think it's been 1 goal games every time they've played, but this time Leeds just got the job done. And yeah, Charlie was saying earlier, Brown's just slowly racking up the points. Another 3 points, so he's really gonna be trying to close down on Sobchak. But yeah, Leeds got the 5-1 win. That's a big win for them at home, and that was their only game of the weekend as well. So I think Ryan Aldridge will be a happy boss after that one. And then the complete opposite of that to Andrew, just absolute chaos. The Berkshire Bees 6, the Sheffield Steel Dogs 8. Just to list some of the point scorers in that game. We'll start with the main man, Mr. Marcel Balaz. 4 goals, 2 assists, a 6-point night. Then his partner in crime, Dom Gabay, he got 4 assists and 2 goals. And then on the other side of things, you had Phillips with 5 assists and Walker Sommer with a hat trick, and he got another 3 assists as well. So it was just the two top lines just going back and forth, back and forth. And then the Brammers decided to call it game, link up, and score the game-winning goal, which is nice to see. But yeah, just Andrew, it just defense out the window for that game, it seems.
I was about to say that. Yeah, just all go for it, and yeah, Gabba and Blood's show basically from Bees. What I will say from them, they were pretty short benched.
Oh my goodness.
Was it about 13? I think. I'm just trying to
They
look
had
at the sheet now.
13 with 2 goalies, so 11
Uh,
skaters.
So yeah,
They
you
had
could say
10
quite
after
good.
Ripley boarded one of them.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is the game, isn't it? So
They
Ripley got a
finished. They
five.
finished. They finished with 10 skaters,
Yeah,
which
Ripley
is
got a five
mental.
plus game. I haven't seen it, but I think Morris got hurt. So
Played the
Ripley's
next night though, so he wasn't.
did he? Oh, okay, so
Yeah,
Morris
he just didn't
he
finish
he
the
did
game.
play the rest of the game, but yeah, just a goal fest, Dan, and again, just Walker Sommer, man, he is just right. This is an unreal stat, by the way. Walker Sommer has scored 21 goals this season, only 2 on the power play, 1 shorthanded. He has got 18 5-on-5 goals. He is currently the best 5-on-5 player for goals, Dan. And you can see why. He just rips it past every time, doesn't he? He's probably got the best shot in the league.
Yeah, he is really good.
Brown won't like me saying that.
He's just really good at skating as well. Like the way
Yeah.
he can move around the ice is so good, and he's so he doesn't do the same stuff every game. You know what I mean? He doesn't do the same stuff. He goes through the game. He can put out a wraparound, and then he can put out a short side snipe, and then he can cut into the slot and snipe it. He's so different with the way he can use his offense, and I think that's what makes him so unpredictable. Like you can see sometimes imports in this league do get caught out
Yeah.
and you sort of know what they're going to do. But this guy, he just seems to be so sort of versatile to the game. And he just seems like you can't really predict what he's going to do. You have an idea, but you can never be sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's making him so hard to defend right now. I'm not saying he won't get caught out by the end of the year, or if he carries on next season, if he stays, he might get caught out. But at the minute, he's just really hot. And yeah, I think D-men are just really struggling, and goalies are just really struggling to sort of find their way to get around him at the minute.
for a small guy, he's got one hell of a release on his shot. And the thing as well, he doesn't even have to like lift his stick really far back. He can just flick it in an instant. And I think that is the difference between a goal scorer and then an elite goal scorer. And Walker Sommer's definitely that. Another game which we'll probably just brush over. Just like Leeds, MK Saturday night just got the job done. 4-0 up. They conceded a late goal. So Headley will probably be annoyed he didn't get his shutout. But 4-0, we know what MK can do at home. And that's the type of game which they'll be hoping they can try and do in the second leg. Just get a few goals and just shut it down. And it seems like Spadafore had a pretty decent game that game. Just the whole defense really just coming together at home, and they've not really had any problems at home. They're still getting the results. They've only lost once this season. Um, the final game on the Saturday, Andrew, the Bristol Pitbulls, and have they shocked you this season? Obviously, picking up a lot more results, beating Hull. I know Hull have been on some poor form, but it is light and day from the start of the season. Me, Charlie, and Dan were at the game where Hull beat them 11-3, and fast forward 2 months, they've now beaten Hull 6-5 on penalty shots. It just shows you improvement, doesn't it?
They're definitely improving. Yeah, I don't really know. They've had some changes. I think earlier in the season though they did have goalkeeper issues. I remember when Raiders went there right at the beginning of the season, they didn't have either of their normal people players. Actually, Ryder, who now plays for us, he was in goal for them,
Oh,
and
is he?
Skins, who I think is now with Bees, was there a backup. They obviously were missing some net minding there. I think they had a quite a good pickup with Jay King.
Yeah,
He's obviously been doing quite well for Chelmsford. Obviously, Bison guy as well. I think he'll help in the on the day. So they made improvements and they're going the right way.
yeah. Talking of J King Dan, he's keeping up that point pace, point a game pace. He scored again, on Saturday. I'd love to see the goal. I bet it was an absolute snipe. But the guy I do want to talk about is the other D man, their captain Tanner Butler. Oh my goodness. We are seeing the best Tanner Butler right now, and I bet you he'd say he could go up even more gears. But he's currently got 29 points in 23 games as a defenseman. But I don't even think that's the most impressive part. I think the most impressive part is that he's captaining a side who really struggled last season and had a tough start to the season, and they're getting results against some real top teams now. And he's stepping up. He's the main guy in these games, Dan.
Yeah, 100%. And we did say that at the start of the season. We said that Tanner Butler did need a big year.
Yeah,
I think he didn't have the best of years, and he'll know that. And the team as a whole didn't have the best of years last year. And I think going into this season, they needed that new mentality. And with him being the captain as well, he can't be sort of showing the mentality that he had last year. He needs to sort of boost the team morale when he needs it, and he needs to really boost himself as well. And
yeah,
I think the changes that they've made, I think that has helped a lot. But I think just the changes that he's made in himself over the off season has also helped as well, because he is just like a totally different guy, and he is the guy that we saw at the start of the season for Bristol.
yeah,
And he's really just come into the season. He's like, right, I need to sort of bring back those days. And yeah, I think having a captain like that can really lead like that, and also an import as well, I think is so big for the team. And just knowing that they've got that solid back line of defence behind them is also really confident boosting for a young team in front of them.
yeah. Shout out Tommy Napier as well. 55 shots on him. He saved 50. And he also saved, I think, four of the penalty shots as well. So fair play to him. The next game, the first game on the Sunday, Charlie, I think, did you say, this is what, yeah. So they obviously lost 4-3 to the Solway Sharks. Sorry, I was losing my words a bit there. But this is the kind of thing which they cannot be tripping up on in those away games. And if they can get into penalty trouble, Romford will punish them, won't they?
Yeah, so if you don't know, 3-1 up against Solway in Solway's rink. Solway scored to make it 3-2, then 3-3. Then Spadafore got a penalty with a minute to go. believe it was interference.
Yeah, it was
I'm pretty
interference.
sure it was interference. And just to be honest, you can't be giving away penalties there. It's a tough spot. They didn't score in regulation, but then they scored in overtime. And that's a big win for Solway Sharks. It's a big win. They're keeping their home streak alive. But for Milton Keynes, another frustrating one. That's probably 2 points drop, one to Telford, one to Solway. That's one game dropped almost because they were up again, I think, twice in both games. And then they lost it. But credit to the opposition, this league doesn't give up.
Yeah,
It doesn't give up. And if you give teams opportunity on power plays, they're going to take it. And I think Solway had quite a few power play goals that game.
um, one guy which Kel Beattie mentioned last week was his D partner Olivier Arseneau, and he scored twice on that game, and I think he's taken a big step up this season with that D. He's almost being the role model for Stenton, for Kel Beattie and Dan Skins as well, and Kerr. So he had a really big game. And then obviously Coulter coming in as well. He got a big goal to start the game as well to get them back in it. So that's a huge win for Solway, and hey, they're going to be pushing for that playoff spot. I think with Telford losing, I believe they're on level points with Telford, and they've got 2 games in hand on them as well, for that playoff spot. So it's going to go right down to the wire. I really hope it does. The next game was the one you were at, Andrew. I believe you were at Romford against the Bristol Pitbulls. And I said, Shufelt and Miller are probably going to be the guys who you're going to look towards on that Wednesday Cup semi-final. And it was that line: Shufelt, Miller, and Aleph all getting the goals. Miller hat trick, Shufelt getting a couple. That's the perfect form going into that Wednesday, really, isn't it?
Exactly. One thing they did as well, they rested James as well.
Yeah.
We had
Yes, yeah,
Ryder in net. He fell on a good performance as well.
yeah,
But yeah, it was the impulse again. Sean Miller and Andrew Dufelt showed pretty well. Yeah, Sean ended up with the man of the match as well. Just some, yeah, good work and everything. I'll give credit to Pitbulls. They never gave up a game and
yeah,
stuff. They got a couple of late goals from Ed Lewis and Nick Price, to get a decent, not too far, a decent result, I guess. Still 6-3 is not instead of 6-1. It looks much
yeah,
better that way.
yeah. That's what we've
Um,
said all season. Even if they are losing, the difference from last season to this season is they're still going right to the end of the game.
Definitely, and as you've already said, their netminder Napier, yeah, he he was really good, especially at the first half of the game. I mean, we were out shooting them everything, and we'd only scored the one early on at 15:46, and I think Napier was keeping them in to begin with. So yeah, credit to him as well.
Montford had 25 shots in the third period. Some teams don't even get that in a game. They had 25 in a period, 54 shots. So just put that in perspective, Napier had 109 shots on him this weekend. Um, Flipping heck. That is a lot of workload. But yeah, as for Romford, that is really good form, Charlie, going into that final. And again, if they're gonna beat Milton Keynes, these are the perfect players, as Andrew just said, to go into it. And I know you absolutely love Shaw Miller.
Oh, Sean Miller's disgusting. He's if you take out Hanas now, I believe he's the best points per game player in the league. I think he's overtaken
As he's overtaken
to
Sobchak.
the weekend. He's huge, man. He's huge for them. Whenever he's on the ice, he seems to have the puck on his stick, and he dictates play. And well, we saw his CV when he signed, and we thought he's going to be good. And I think he's outdone his expectations. I think he's probably. I'd probably put him as a top 3 import in the league, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I
I
agree.
rate Sean Miller so highly. We had him on the podcast. He's got his head screwed on. He's a very I think he takes his hockey seriously, and it's important to him. And I know that sounds silly, but I think hockey is number one to him. And I think when he got brought in there, it was a clear kind of vision of we need to win games to grow the crowd, to build the club, to build the following. And yeah, Sean Miller's definitely done what was needed along with Shootout. And yeah, I'm excited to see him on Wednesday night because He's an exciting player to watch, and I thought that Nixon goal against Swindon, I know we're going back, was just it's some of my favourite goals in hockey because Nixon was just pure hard work. So he was on the blue line, passed it to Sean Miller, who was stood on the boards, and Nixon does not stop skating towards that goalie. I think if the pass didn't come through, Rennie was getting cleaned out. Nixon knew Sean Miller was going to ping that putt. Sean Miller puts it right in front of him. The D men ain't reacted. Them goals, if you have got the passion and the vision to drive the net in this league, I think it goes in most times. Like, genuinely, if you are willing to drive that net and you're going to look at that D man and be like, I'm going to run through you to get to this net, you get there. And that was one of my favourite goals of the weekend, and it wasn't a Swindon goal because I just thought it just showed such determination and there was such skill from Sean Miller, and just Nixon was like, I'm going to get to that goal, and he just lifted it over Rennie's left pad. But yeah, Sean Miller, cracking player.
um, the whole Seahawks finally got a win. It's been if you go onto the National League, it just says LLL shoot LL. But they'll finally have a W on there now, and it has been a tough time for them, hasn't it, Andrew? Obviously, they've had their big defenders missing. Obviously, Hayward's still been out. They hadn't had Hodgkinson. And obviously, we always talk about on here the Barmer size hole, which you just cannot fill. But they had the two on the Sunday night. They had Spraggan, they had Hodgkinson. And yes, it was a Bees team who have lost a lot of players. I think they only had 11 men in this game as well. But they got the job done. They've got a win. And I think Matty and Hull will be hoping now they've got their little rut out the way. They can now try and get a little win streak of their own.
Yeah, I quite like Seahawks. I like how they play, how they attack and all the attacking stuff, but they have been on a pretty bad streak.
Yeah.
And possibly that win was a bad time for the Raiders, considering we play them next on Saturday. Well, after the Cup game anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it was the right time for them to play the Bees. Like you say, yeah, they were a short bench to gain there. Definitely, once they're settled, yeah, Josh Hodgkins going to be a big plus. But yeah, even speaking to Matty last time he was down in himself, he agrees that obviously Barmer, you can't replace someone like that. And yeah, they've tried at least with improving the defense, which is obviously their weak area, and hopefully if they can get some settled D lines, they'll improve.
Yeah, I think now they've got Hodgkinson. I think he's fully in the team now, Dan, and I think that was what Matty was just waiting for. They can finally get these settled D pairings. They're not changing, they're not chopping and changing. I know Phillips didn't actually play on Saturday, but he did play on the Sunday. And then it was nice to see like Chamberlain on the score sheet, Bonner on the score sheet, Svet Cornel, a lot of different players on the score sheet. Just a bit of confidence because after losing six on the bounce, it must be so tough when you know that you are good enough, but it's just not going your way. And I could really see Hull going on that little win streak now, now that they've got a few players back and they'll have Hayward back soon as well.
It does just show how important like goalies and D men are.
Yeah.
They might not get appreciated as much as a forward would, but I think that side of the game is so important. And if you can really get that confidence in defence and sort of stop the goals going out your end, the difference it makes to those forwards is unbelievable. And the way that they can go into games with those settled deep pairings, like you say, and if they can keep the goals out, you're not going to be looking at these forwards for all these goals. You know,
Yeah.
you're going to want to score, but they don't need to go and score like 5 or 6 a game to win a game. They can keep the puck out their own net, and it means it's just more relaxed for them to put it in the other net. And what you'll find is more goals will go in when they're not trying to score. You know what I mean? Like when they're just playing their game, we
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
Hull can do in offense. We know they're really strong in offense. They've always built their teams like in this way that they're really strong in offense. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but obviously when it does work out, it's dangerous. And I think yeah, just having this confidence in D and just putting the confidence from the D all the way up to the forwards, I think it's just going to boost the whole team. And yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting part for Hull now. I think if they can answer to those losses now, with now they've got the D sort of settled, I think it's going to be big. And yeah, they're going to be boosting each other with all the confidence they can get.
I
Yeah, it's
wanted
a good. Go on, Charlie.
So I wanted to quickly mention a player for Hull. I don't, considering because they've had a bit of a rough start to the season, I don't think he's quite got the plaudits he deserves. And that's Bobby Chamberlain. I know he plays his sub chat, but he scored 20 goals this year in 22 games, which is nearly a goal a game pace. And Matty Davies spoke about how he felt like Bobby Chamberlain could have more offense to his game. Now, I don't think he's a million miles off pace for 100 points this year. He'll be in that 80, 90, 100 point bracket. And since he's been given captain, I think his penalty minutes have gone down. He's only got 27 this year. He's not in the top category. And I think he's as much as the results in the recent weeks haven't been as well. I think he's been a huge part to home, and I think maybe he doesn't get mentioned quite as much, but he got two big goals against Bees and an assist. And so yeah, Bobby Chamberlain, I just thought he's their top goal
Oh,
scorer.
it's a good point.
And
The cat,
I,
he's
I, I,
obviously.
think, I forget that. You'd think Svet would be, and don't get me wrong, I don't think Svet's been bad. Cornel's been big as well. He's got 15 goals in like 17 games. But as a captain, he's I think he's upped his game since he's been given the C.
No, because if you're looking to someone to get you those two goals, so you're ahead at the start of the game, it is Chamberlain, and he took on that role. He took on that captain role and got those two goals. It was two really nice goals as well, just straight wrist shots past Max Wright, who was not easy to get past. Us
Last
Swindon
year, he got
fans know
28
that.
all year. He got
Pardon?
28 goals all year last year.
Yeah,
He's already on 20. He's on track for 49 goals
yeah,
if he hits his pace. So like, that's a big increase. So yeah, I just thought he's really upped his game this year, and I think he deserves the credit he's going to get.
yeah. Yeah, it's interesting as well, Dan. Obviously, when you are losing, I think you said you just hold on to your stick a bit tighter. You try and force in a bit plays, which you just need to relax and play what Hull have been doing at the start of the season. And I think they will do that in coming weeks now. Um, Peterborough Phantoms, their only game of the weekend at home, they got a not an embarrassing, but they went 5-0 down last weekend and obviously lost to the Raiders, Andrew. But they return back with a 4-0 shutout win. Hayden Levine gets 42 saves, puts on a real good performance. They get two power plays, a short-handed goal, and a 5-on-5 goal. That's the perfect response, really, Andrew, to a poor week last week.
Totally agree again there. I don't know with Aiden. I think I've said it before. Hot and cold.
Yeah,
He can be really good on some days. Obviously was there, and other days hasn't impressed me either. So yeah, hard call there. With just depends on the day for him. It's quite surprising after Sheffield was it put eight put
yeah.
through the day before.
It's a good
You
point,
and
actually.
all their shooters and everything. You, yeah, just got to give credit to Peterborough, I guess. Obviously, he wasn't there, but they're obviously one of the best when they take a lead, a goal or two lead. They they they, they play Peterborough style hockey and just let me you have to break them down basically to get by them. So I don't know if it was that type of game or not, but that could have been it. But yeah,
Yeah,
credit to Peterborough
we look.
for turning around.
We were at Telford, Dan, and it said goal Phantoms, and I checked. Luke Ferrara assisted by Yanni Lackinen. Okay, yeah, nice. Could have put my house savings on that one. But yeah, we don't really need to speak about that too much. I think 4-0 shutout win, their only game of the weekend. I think Slava would be very happy with the team for that, and I think they are finally pretty much full strength. I know Jasper Foster's finally back. I'm happy for him. I know he's hated not being able to play when we've spoken to him, and he just wanted to get back to it. So I'm really happy for him returning to the lineup. And then the final game of the whole weekend, um, just like the Romford game, we were 3-0 down. It wasn't looking great. And then suddenly we've gone from a third period team where we just don't know if we're going to win or not to making comebacks in the third period. We've had three now where we've scored three games in a row. We've had three period goals in the third period, which have won us the game. And Dan, obviously, as a neutral fan, the first two periods, I just thought a bit like Saturday. Actually, tried to score the perfect goal. And when we did finally score, it was a power play goal, which was a bit scrappy, but we got that goal. And then the third period was just pure domination, wasn't it? We were in that zone. I want to say we doubled the offensive zone time.
Yeah, 100%. I think that first period especially was about the same length as the journey up there and the whole of the game. It felt like it went on for ages.
Oh,
I looked
so
at I
many
looked at
stoppages.
I looked at the clock and it was only like there was still 12 minutes left, and I was like, Jesus, we feel like we've been watching for about half hour. It's it's like it was just one of them periods. It just was really, really, really slow, and it was like how Swindon and Telford played total opposite games in that first part of the game. Obviously, Telford got those goals that we were on about, where you just shoot and just hope, and they just got those scrappy goals, and that's what worked for them. And again, Swindon were trying to get those pretty goals, and like, it was literally a splitting image of the game on Saturday. Once Swindon realised that, and they realised they just need to start getting it on net, because Brad Day was in a game where if he saw the shot, he was going to save them. Made some big saves on a breakaway. He was all around the net. The D-men played strong, and yeah, it just needed that. It just needed that messy goal to just sort of flick it again. And I really liked Telford's energy. I thought they came out of the game really fast. Really physical. They were winning all the board battles. Swindon aren't the most physical team. They can get beat around the boards a lot, and I think Telford really played that to a T. They were always going in for the forecheck. You had obviously Henderson going in for the forecheck quite a lot. You had Mackenzie there. They were all playing their game, and I think it was just like I say, it was just that switch of momentum that was needed, and yeah, from then on, it was just sort of Swindon's game again.
Yeah. Charlie, I'll throw a couple names out. I thought Malazinski, Glenn Billen, and Aaron Nell. That game just those guys stepped up, and it was a scrappy game. But I'll say this to save the viewers thinking that you're just being biased. But Malazinski was unbelievable this weekend. Like oh my goodness, he ran the show for us on that Sunday night. He got two big assists for those goals. So I'll give him his flowers before you do. But yeah, Glenn Billen as well in front of the net, just scrapping it out, getting some goals. I think he's been so good at that this season, and it was just a completely different third period. And you have to give credit to Swindon because they completely nullified Telford as well in that third period. I can't really remember any big chances Telford had in the third.
Yeah, I said to you all at 3-0, I'm ready to go home. I've had enough of this. To be honest, I was. It was a horrible start from Swindon, but Telford were good. They pressed us really hard. We just couldn't pass. We couldn't do much. We had some chances, don't get me wrong. You always have chances in a hockey game, but we just didn't look like scoring. Every line Telford had just pressed us, but I will say this. Jack's already given us plus, but whenever Malas was on the ice was the time we looked threatening. And then again, can't put Swindon on the power play. I can't remember how the penalty happened. I don't know who it was. But as soon as we got the power play, I think we scored in 9 seconds, and that meant we went into the second period. 2 goals behind, got put on a power play early in the second, and that was when the domination started. And
In the third, you mean in the third?
third, yeah, and it's when special teams in this league are so important, and Swindon have really aced the power play in the last 2 years. I think it's now his biggest strength as a coach. I think his best strength is his power play coaching, because I think we are lethal on the power play. And I thought that set the tone for the game. I think them two power plays got us back in the game. 3-0 down, you're normally done, but not in the National League because we get about 17 goals a game. So we took advantage of that, and yeah, we played well. And the Bally pass at the end was phenomenal.
Oh,
That
what a
was
play!
disgusting. If you've seen a Kucherov Gensel pass, if not, search it up on Twitter. But if you have, that's what it was like. No one knew Bally had passed that puck, apart from Nell, who put it in the net. And then little one, Luca was dangling like Gretzky that
Oh
game.
my days.
Me.
Luca nearly scored
He
goal of
did
the
two
season.
dangles where he did it in the second. I think he missed it, Jack. He did two dangles where one of them in the second, he just went past three players and bulleted it into the glass.
No,
We
no,
did
no.
it
I
for the
I was
second
there. I
goal,
watched that.
Yeah, yeah, Jack was there.
and then the second goal he did that as well, and he will be annoyed he didn't score one of them because he looked like he was about 18 years old again.
Oh my days.
And
Rolling
Luca's
back the
not
years.
18. And it was quite, mate. Shout out to Bryn as well. I think
Yeah.
I would have given Telford's man of the match to Bryn. One of them players who you don't really think of when it comes to Telford, but he actually had a really good game. He undressed Wales for one of the shots he took, and he also he scored a really good goal. He shelved that top corner. But Swindon found a way, and that's important. That's something we've struggled to do this year. All our big players coming out, every single player, Wales, Bradley, Bebris, Plews, Jamie Smith, and Godfrey. When you can get total domination is when your D-men know exactly when to pinch, and they pinched perfectly in that third period, which
Yeah.
just meant almost felt like we had a chokehold on Telford, and we really took advantage. And it was probably a bit of a dagger for Telford when we scored with 30 seconds to go because they did play a good game. They were really good for two periods, and they'll be frustrated they didn't get a point from that because Solway grabbed two that night and Bristol grabbed two the day before. So 0 point weekend is a bit frustrating for Telford, but it makes the bottom end race very exciting and also the top end race. We're now 2 points off Sheffield, I believe, Jack, with
No.
two games in
Yeah, we
hand.
got no. We're level points of them, and we've got 2 games in hand now.
And then we're a little bit away from Leeds. I'm not saying we're going to be in the title race, but you never know. Keep yourself in a distance and you got to keep working hard. So good job for Swindon boys grabbing the only 4 point weekend. I'm happy with them, even though I was ready to go home.
Yeah, I have to say we've had a couple last second goals against us. Obviously, that one in Sheffield 2 weeks ago was honestly gut wrenching. 9 seconds to go, but it was really sweet. Obviously, I travelled to Solway and Hull. And, sorry, Sheffield, and to get that one in Telford for it to go our way, I just think we've deserved that all season because we've kept the game so tight, and yeah, it was nice to see it go our way this time. Um, that wraps up all the games then. Andrew, where can everyone go and see your stuff? I'm sure most people who are watching probably know what you do, but yeah, where can everyone go and see your stuff?
Well, my own stuff is generally on Twitter X, Andrew Day 111. There, let me have on Facebook as well and there and stuff. Obviously, do the match night updates on for Raiders.
Yep.
And there. If they want to hear me do a bit of DJing, come down to see the Queen Bees when they're playing at home or something. But otherwise, yeah, just see me around the rink, usually with my Sweden hat on and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We've obviously, if you'll probably be doing the notifications or this for Wednesday night as well. So you'll be giving everyone the score updates. But yeah, Andrew, thank you for hopping on with us. We appreciate you giving us a bit of a rundown for the semi final. And we could get you on next week as well after the first leg because we'll all be there watching it. So we appreciate you hopping on. Charlie, Dan, anything else to add?
Um, if you see us on Wednesday, say hello. MK fans or Raiders fans. I've had some fun interactions with MK fans. They always have a laugh with me. So yeah, it'd be good to see everyone at the rink on Wednesday. And best of luck to both teams. I'm disappointed Swindon aren't in it this year, but it's always quite fun watching games as neutrals. Of course, I have a slight bias towards Raiders, but at the end of the day, I just want a good game of hockey. I enjoy good games, and I get to feel what it's like being Dan when I watch Cup semi-finals because Dan does not have a team sadly at the moment. So I understand what Dan watches every week. But yeah, excited for Wednesday, and I won't be on the podcast next week. I am flying away
Hey.
to whoa.
Sorry,
Um,
sorry, sorry.
Dan also won't be as me and Jack are gonna have a executive meeting on kicking him off. But yeah, I'm off to two different countries for some Christmas markets, so I'm excited. The YouTube's going really well, so I won't be here next week, but I will be watching the games. So I hope they don't annoy you too much without me, because I know it's difficult for the viewers when I'm not on the podcast.
Well, Andrew, you could keep us company well, whenever we film it, next Monday or Tuesday.
No problem. Well, thanks for having me tonight.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. If you are new, make sure to follow our socials at Macca's Talk Hockey on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Make sure you like the video. I don't really ask people to do that, but yeah, we'll see you next week. Good luck to both teams. And yeah, next week we'll review game one. We might get a guest, we might not, but we'll definitely have Andrew back. So yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.